It often begins in silence, the kind of silence that fills a bedroom when the lights are off, the doors are closed, and the world outside begins to fade. You'd think that silence means peace, that it means rest. But for millions of people over 50, that silence hides something quietly working against them. Not a disease, not a food, not a pill, but a set of bedtime habits that, over time, can shorten the very lifespan they're trying to protect. Most don't even realize it. They go to bed believing they're resting, but their body, their heart, and their brain are not resting at all. They're fighting. There's a strange irony in aging. The body grows wiser yet more fragile. What once healed in days now takes weeks. What once was ignored now leaves a mark. And nowhere is this more visible than in the way we sleep, or rather in the way we prepare to sleep. You see, the modern idea of winding down has changed. Decades ago, bedtime was simple. A quiet evening, a bit of reading, a dim lamp, maybe the faint sound of a radio. Today, bedtime has become a ritual of light, noise, screens, snacks, and mental overload. It's not just the quantity of sleep that matters anymore. It's the quality of what happens before it. And that's where so many people unknowingly harm themselves every single night. Imagine this. The clock strikes 10. You've had a long day. Dinner was late, maybe heavier than usual. You tell yourself you'll just scroll for a bit before turning in. Maybe answer one more message. Maybe check tomorrow's weather. The blue light from your phone washes over your face. You don't feel sleepy, not yet. So you lie there, scrolling, thinking it's harmless. But your brain, that extraordinary organ, is reading it differently. It sees that light as a sunrise. It tells your body to stay awake, to suppress melatonin, the very hormone that signals your cells it's time to rest and repair. That small habit, a harmless scroll, is the beginning of a long chain reaction that slowly shortens your nights, your rest, and over years, your lifespan. Science has been clear for years, yet ignored by most. Poor sleep hygiene, especially after the age of 50, accelerates cellular aging. It increases inflammation, disturbs cardiovascular rhythm, and weakens metabolic balance. In simpler words, the wrong bedtime routine tells your body to age faster. Every late-night light exposure, every snack, every anxious thought carried into bed, they all become small cuts that add up. But because they're quiet, invisible, and painless, they're easy to dismiss. Until one day they aren't. Let's take something as ordinary as eating late. You've heard it before, and don't eat before bed. But the reason isn't just about weight gain. After 50, digestion slows dramatically. Late-night meals force your organs to work overtime when they should be resting. Your pancreas still produces insulin. Your stomach still churns. Your blood sugar remains elevated. Instead of your body repairing tissue and clearing waste, it's managing food. Night after night, this pattern confuses your internal clock, your circadian rhythm, the system that governs almost every biological process you depend on. Over time, that confusion translates into fatigue, poor concentration, higher blood pressure, and eventually a higher risk of chronic illness. And the cruel part. It all begins with something as innocent as a late-night snack. Then there's light, the invisible disruptor. Artificial light, especially from screens, has been called the new tobacco of modern health by some sleep experts. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't burn, but it leaves damage that accumulates. For people over 50, exposure to blue light after sunset delays the release of melatonin by up to 2 hours. That means when you think you're lying down to sleep, your body is still convinced it's early evening. Your heart rate remains higher, your temperature doesn't drop as it should, and your brain's waste-clearing system, the glymphatic system, cannot activate efficiently. What does that mean in real terms? It means toxins that should be flushed out overnight, including beta-amyloid, linked to Alzheimer's, linger longer. It means your brain ages faster and your morning feels heavier. But perhaps the most overlooked bedtime danger is mental noise. In a world that never stops, our thoughts rarely do either. People carry their worries into bed like luggage that's never unpacked. The email unanswered. The conversation unfinished. The regret, the plan, the fear. You may close your eyes, but your mind is awake, rehearsing, replaying, worrying. Chronic nighttime stress elevates cortisol, the body's stress hormone. When cortisol stays high after dark, it suppresses immune repair, increases blood pressure, and blocks the deep stages of sleep where healing truly happens. Over time, the body begins to confuse stress with normality. The result? A constant low-grade alert state, the kind of state that wears down the heart, weakens arteries, and shortens life expectancy without a single visible symptom. Now imagine layering all of these habits together: the phone screen, the late snack, the restless mind, the overhead light still on. It's not dramatic. It's not life-threatening in the moment, but it's cumulative. Like dripping water on stone, it slowly erodes your body's ability to restore itself. Sleep becomes lighter, shorter, and less efficient. The immune system grows weaker. Inflammation grows stronger. The aging process accelerates not because of the years you've lived, but because of the nights you've lost. Doctors often talk about sleep as a pillar of health, but in truth it's more like the foundation. Every other aspect of health, heart, metabolism, mood, memory, rests on it. A poor night's sleep doesn't just make you tired. It alters how your cells function, how your genes express, how your hormones synchronize. When bedtime habits disturb that foundation, even the healthiest diet or exercise plan can't fully protect you. And that's why this conversation matters, because the habits that seem harmless, the ones you've done for years, are often the quietest enemies of longevity. There's also a subtle link between nighttime habits and cardiovascular health that many overlook. When sleep is repeatedly disrupted by late-night activity, light, or anxiety, the heart doesn't get its recovery phase. Normally during deep sleep, the heart rate slows, blood pressure drops, and the arteries relax. This nightly reset keeps the cardiovascular system flexible and strong. But when bedtime habits interfere, when you stay up scrolling, when you fall asleep with the TV on, when you snack on sugar before bed, that recovery never fully happens. Over time, the heart stays under constant low stress, beating faster even at rest. Studies have shown that people who regularly go to bed with elevated stress or digestive activity have a higher resting heart rate and greater risk of hypertension. These are not abstract statistics. They are small, measurable markers of accelerated aging. The same goes for metabolism. Sleep is when your body recalibrates its insulin sensitivity. It's when your liver detoxifies, when your fat cells communicate with your brain about energy storage. But if you enter the night with sugar still circulating, your body's signals become distorted. Insulin remains active, growth hormone declines, and the next day you wake up hungrier, craving more sugar, more caffeine, perpetuating the cycle. For people over 50 whose metabolism is already slower, this becomes a hidden trap, one that not only adds pounds, but silently shortens life by straining vital organs night after night. And then there's temperature, another bedtime mistake few realize. Many people sleep in rooms that are too warm, but the body's natural process of falling asleep depends on a drop in core temperature. When the room is warm, or when blankets are too heavy, that cooling signal never triggers. You may toss and turn without understanding why. This subtle disturbance keeps the body from entering deep restorative sleep, where tissue repair, hormone regulation, and memory consolidation occur. Over time, that loss of deep sleep increases the risk of heart disease, diabetes, and cognitive decline. It's astonishing how something as simple as a thermostat setting can ripple through the entire body's lifespan. Of course, not all bedtime habits are physical. Emotional ones can be just as harmful. Arguing before bed, watching stressful news, overthinking the future. These habits activate the body's fight-or-flight response, raising adrenaline when it should be dropping. Your heart beats faster, your muscles tense, your breath shortens, and though you may eventually fall asleep, your nervous system remains on alert. That kind of sleep, the restless, shallow kind, doesn't repair. It merely pauses exhaustion. Over time, it robs you of resilience, making small stresses feel heavier and everyday tasks more draining. Aging in that context isn't just a matter of time, it's a matter of recovery and how well the body can reset from each day. Without quality rest, that reset never happens. There's also something else, something less discussed but deeply human. Loneliness. Many adults over 50 go to bed alone, not just physically but emotionally. The absence of connection, of shared warmth, changes how the body experiences the night. Research has shown that loneliness increases nighttime cortisol and decreases sleep efficiency, even when total sleep time seems normal. The heart beats faster, the immune system weakens, the brain stays half alert, scanning for safety in the dark. This emotional state, though quiet, has real physiological consequences. It can shorten life not by days but by years, which means one of the most dangerous bedtime habits isn't technological or dietary. It's emotional isolation. And yet, the story isn't hopeless. In fact, awareness is the first step to reversing it. Because once you understand that bedtime isn't just the end of your day, it's the beginning of your body's repair cycle, everything changes. The small habits that once seemed trivial begin to carry new meaning. The light you switch off, the meal you skip, the thought you release, each becomes an act of longevity. The truth is, your night determines your next day, and your nights, collectively, determine the quality and length of your life. So tonight, before you lie down, pause. Think about what your body is about to do. It's preparing to detoxify, to heal, to regenerate cells, to clear the brain's waste, to strengthen your heart. But it can only do that if you let it, if you give it darkness, stillness, and peace. The irony is that longevity doesn't come from doing more. It often comes from undoing the habits that quietly wear us down. As we move deeper into this story, you'll begin to see just how intricate these bedtime patterns are, how small behaviors multiply into large consequences. Because while aging is inevitable, how you age is not. And understanding what happens in the quiet hours of the night could be the most powerful act of self-care you ever choose. When most people think of danger, they think of things they can see: a car accident, a fall, an illness that announces itself with pain. But the most dangerous forces in the body are often invisible, working quietly while we sleep. That's the cruel part about bedtime habits. They don't feel harmful. You don't see the damage in the mirror. You don't hear your arteries stiffen or feel your neurons misfire. You simply wake up one morning, a little more tired than usual, your heart beating just a bit faster, your focus a little dimmer. You tell yourself it's age, but it's not just age, it's accumulation. It's the echo of nights spent ignoring what the body has been pleading for: rhythm, darkness, stillness, care. At 50 and beyond, the body changes its relationship with time. The hormones that once protected you begin to decline. The systems that used to recover effortlessly now need precision and respect. The circadian rhythm, your internal 24-hour clock, becomes more sensitive. It depends more on cues, light, food, temperature, silence, to stay synchronized. When those cues are disrupted night after night, the clock falters. And when it falters, everything follows: metabolism, immunity, cardiovascular stability, cognitive health. A chaotic bedtime routine doesn't just mean a bad night's sleep. It means biological confusion, a body running on mixed signals, like a city where the traffic lights have all gone out at once. One of the most overlooked risks of poor bedtime habits is chronic inflammation. Every night you delay sleep, expose yourself to blue light, or eat too close to bedtime, you trigger small spikes in stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones were designed for survival, not for nightly repetition. In moderation, they keep you alert and responsive. But when elevated consistently at night, they begin to alter your immune system's rhythm. White blood cells remain active when they should be resting. The liver releases glucose when the body doesn't need it. This low-grade activation, repeated over years, becomes inflammation, the silent fire that underlies almost every chronic disease of aging. Heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, even cancer. It's easy to underestimate because inflammation doesn't announce itself. You won't feel it burning in your arteries or buzzing in your nerves, but it's there, tightening vessels, oxidizing cholesterol, interrupting insulin signaling. And the trigger for many is not diet alone but bedtime chaos. That midnight snack, that stress-filled news feed, that bright phone light inches from your face. The science is astonishingly clear. When you eat, stress, or expose yourself to light after dark, your body interprets it as daytime. It delays melatonin, raises cortisol, and keeps your inflammatory pathways open when they should be closed. Over months, your body begins to operate in a state of confused alertness, always on, never truly at rest. And that state accelerates aging more than almost anything else you do. Let's talk about the heart. The human heart is an extraordinary muscle, about the size of your fist, beating more than 100,000 times a day. But like every muscle, it needs recovery. During deep sleep, your heart rate should fall by 10–20%. This drop signals to your cardiovascular system that it's safe to rest and repair. The blood vessels relax, the heart's electrical rhythm stabilizes, and micro-damage to vessel walls begins to heal. But when bedtime habits interfere, when you stay stimulated by screens, or digesting a late meal, or lying awake in worry, your heart never fully gets that break. Instead of dropping into its recovery rhythm, it keeps beating faster, responding to residual adrenaline or high blood sugar. This constant low-level overwork is one of the reasons why poor sleepers have higher risks of hypertension, atrial fibrillation, and heart attacks. It's not just coincidence, it's physiology. The American Heart Association has long emphasized sleep as the 8th essential for cardiovascular health, alongside diet and exercise. But unlike diet and exercise, sleep often gets ignored because its damage doesn't scream. It whispers. It hides in the background as fatigue, forgetfulness, mood swings. And so many people over 50 shrug it off, assuming that a little insomnia is normal for aging. But it isn't. It's a symptom, a red flag from a body trying to maintain balance against self-imposed stressors. Each late-night routine that raises cortisol or blood pressure is another step away from equilibrium, another signal that your body is aging faster than it needs to. And then there's metabolism, one of the most delicate systems affected by bedtime mistakes. The body's relationship with insulin is heavily tied to the circadian rhythm. During the day, your cells are primed to handle glucose efficiently. They use it for energy. At night, however, your insulin sensitivity naturally drops. Your body expects fasting, not feeding. So when you eat close to bedtime, that sugar lingers longer in your blood. The pancreas has to overcompensate, releasing more insulin to manage it. Over time, that pattern dulls the body's sensitivity to insulin, laying the groundwork for type 2 diabetes. It's not just what you eat, it's when you eat. Studies show that adults who consume calories late in the evening, even if total intake is the same, have higher fasting glucose and greater fat accumulation around vital organs. And for those over 50, when metabolism already slows by 10–15%, the effect compounds. The late-night snack becomes not just a comfort, but a quiet accelerant of metabolic decline. And it's not just sugar. The liver, too, suffers under the strain of late-night eating and irregular sleep. One of its key functions is detoxification, which peaks at night. During deep sleep, the liver filters out toxins, metabolizes cholesterol, and processes hormones. But if it's still busy digesting a meal or managing a rush of stress hormones from blue light exposure, it can't focus on those critical tasks. Over time, this imbalance leads to fatty buildup, sluggish metabolism, and elevated liver enzymes, all silent signals that the body's repair cycle is being hijacked by routine. The brain tells a similar story. Every night while you sleep, your brain's glymphatic system, a network of channels that clears waste, becomes active. Think of it as your brain's nightly cleaning crew. It flushes out toxins, including beta-amyloid and tau proteins linked to dementia. But that system only functions during deep, slow-wave sleep. If you go to bed anxious, overstimulated, or physiologically awake, you reduce the amount of deep sleep your brain gets. You might still sleep 7 hours, but not deeply enough to cleanse your neural pathways. Over years, those unflushed toxins accumulate. That's why researchers now describe poor sleep as one of the strongest modifiable risk factors for cognitive decline. Not because you forget things after a bad night, but because every bad night leaves behind microscopic debris that slowly clogs the machinery of memory. There's a particularly cruel twist here. The very habits that cause this damage, the phones, the lights, the distractions, also numb you to it. They keep your dopamine levels artificially high, making you feel alert even as your body deteriorates beneath the surface. You wake up tired but stimulated, reaching for caffeine, mistaking energy for vitality. It's a dangerous illusion. Over time, the gap between how awake you feel and how healthy you are widens. Your energy becomes synthetic, borrowed from adrenaline and cortisol rather than true rest. You're awake, but not well. That's how many people slip unknowingly into burnout, heart disease, and accelerated aging, not through trauma, but through routine. But let's go deeper into what actually happens inside. Picture your body as a symphony. Every organ plays its part according to a biological rhythm. Your gut microbes, your liver enzymes, your heart rate, your hormone cycles, all follow time cues. When you disrupt bedtime habits, it's like letting the violins play while the percussion sleeps. The result is dissonance, a system out of tune. Your digestion doesn't match your metabolism. Your hormones don't align with your sleep. Your immune system can't tell when to fight and when to rest. That chaos breeds fatigue, inflammation, and vulnerability. It's not that one bad night kills you. It's that thousands of small disruptions rob your body of the harmony it needs to thrive. And harmony, for the aging body, is survival. At 50, 60, 70, resilience is everything. The heart, brain, and immune system rely on rhythm to repair themselves. When that rhythm is disturbed, even minor stresses, a cold, a skipped meal, an argument, hit harder. Recovery slows. You don't bounce back the way you used to. That's the hidden risk of poor bedtime habits. They don't just age you on paper, they reduce your biological capacity to recover. You might not see the years slipping away, but your cells do. They keep count. Another risk lies in something almost nobody talks about: oxygen. Sleep quality affects breathing quality, and certain bedtime habits, like drinking alcohol or eating heavy meals, increase the likelihood of shallow breathing or sleep apnea episodes. Alcohol relaxes the throat muscles too much, narrowing airways. A full stomach pushes against the diaphragm, reducing lung expansion. The result is intermittent oxygen deprivation, brief moments where your blood oxygen drops while you sleep. You may not notice them, but your heart does. Each drop triggers a mini stress response, a spike in heart rate and blood pressure. Over time, this repeated strain damages the endothelium, the delicate lining of blood vessels responsible for keeping them elastic. That's one of the reasons why habitual nighttime drinking, even in moderate amounts, correlates strongly with hypertension and reduced lifespan in older adults. It's not the glass of wine itself, it's the physiological confusion it creates at a time your body expects calm. The same goes for medications. Many people over 50 take nightly pills for blood pressure, cholesterol, sleep, or pain. But certain drugs interact with nighttime physiology in unexpected ways. Over-the-counter sleep aids, for instance, often contain antihistamines that can disrupt REM sleep, the stage crucial for memory and emotional balance. Some pain relievers can elevate heart rate or stress the liver when taken too close to bedtime. It's not about blame or fear, it's about awareness. The body's nighttime chemistry is delicate. Every substance you introduce affects it in ways most people never consider. And perhaps the greatest risk of all is normalization. The belief that poor sleep, fatigue, and late-night habits are just part of getting older. They're not. They're part of getting misaligned. Aging does not demand suffering, but modern living, the constant connectivity, the stress, the artificial light, makes people surrender to decline far sooner than necessary. The tragedy is that they don't have to. Most of the damage comes from reversible behavior, not irreversible biology. The same body that has learned these habits can unlearn them. The same cells that are inflamed can heal. But the first step is recognition, the courage to admit that what feels comfortable might not be safe. This isn't about living in fear of the night. It's about understanding that the hours after sunset are sacred. They are the body's time to reset, to clean, to repair, to strengthen. To ignore that cycle is to age twice, once by time and once by neglect. And that's what too many people do. They rush through the evening, filling silence with noise, trading rest for stimulation, mistaking distraction for relaxation. But your body knows the difference. It's waiting for you to slow down. It's waiting for you to remember that longevity is not built in the gym or the kitchen alone. It's built in the quiet discipline of what you do before you close your eyes. If you've ever wondered why you wake up more tired than when you went to bed, even after a full night's sleep, this is why. It's not sleep quantity, it's sleep quality. It's not just your pillow or mattress, it's your rituals. The body doesn't need perfection, it needs consistency. The wrong bedtime habits are not mistakes of ignorance, they're habits of disconnection. And every night they persist. They inch you closer to the very outcomes you fear. Shorter lifespan, diminished vitality, a body that feels older than its years. But awareness changes everything. Once you see the risk, you can reverse it. Because the truth is simple. Your lifespan isn't only measured by the years you live, but by the quality of the nights that sustain you. Picture the human body as a landscape. In the daytime, that landscape is alive with movement, blood flowing through arteries like rivers, hormones rising and falling like tides, the brain buzzing like a city at work. But when night comes, the body expects stillness. It expects the sun to go down, the lights to fade, and every system to shift into recovery mode. That's when repair begins. Cells clean themselves, DNA damage is corrected, memories are stored, inflammation subsides, and the heart finally exhales after a long day of labor. This is not just rest, it's restoration. But when bedtime habits disrupt this sacred process, it's as if the night never truly comes. The landscape stays noisy, the rivers overflow, the tides misfire, the city never sleeps. And slowly, silently, the machinery of life begins to wear down. The impact is not abstract, it's cellular, it's measurable, it's visible in blood tests, brain scans, and the mirror. Let's begin with the heart, the most faithful worker in your body. Every beat of your heart depends on a precise rhythm coordinated by electrical signals. Those signals are stabilized during deep sleep, particularly during the slow-wave stages. When sleep is fragmented, won by light, digestion, or mental agitation, those restorative stages are shortened. The result? The heart spends less time recalibrating its rhythm. Over years, this leads to a higher resting heart rate, thicker arterial walls, and greater stiffness in the vessels. Imagine a rubber band that's been stretched too many times. It loses elasticity. That's what happens to your arteries when they never get their nightly break. The consequence is high blood pressure, the quiet predator that damages kidneys, eyes, and the brain long before you ever feel symptoms. Now imagine the brain, that miraculous organ that consumes 20% of your body's oxygen and energy. During the day, it's flooded with electrical activity, thoughts, memories, signals firing constantly. This creates waste, metabolic byproducts that accumulate between brain cells. At night, especially during deep non-REM sleep, your glymphatic system opens up like a river current, flushing those toxins away. It's your brain's cleaning crew, but when you stay awake under artificial light, when you lie in bed checking emails or replaying the day's stress, your brain delays that cleansing. The glymphatic channels remain closed. Beta amyloid and tau proteins, the same ones linked to Alzheimer's, linger longer than they should. Over time, they form plaques. You don't feel them forming, but years later, you'll notice it as forgetfulness, confusion, a lost word on the tip of your tongue. It didn't start with age. It started with the nights when your brain was ready to heal and you told it, not yet. Hormones tell a similar story. Melatonin, cortisol, growth hormone, and insulin. They all follow the rhythm of night and day. Melatonin rises when the sun sets, signaling your cells that it's time for repair. Cortisol drops, allowing inflammation to quiet. Growth hormone peaks during the first deep sleep cycle, triggering tissue regeneration and fat metabolism. Insulin sensitivity resets, preparing your metabolism for the next day. But each of these processes depends on timing. When you scroll under blue light, melatonin is suppressed. When you snack, insulin rises. When you stress, cortisol spikes. The cascade of hormonal confusion means that by morning, your body is still playing catch-up. You wake up groggy because your biology never truly entered the night, and that chronic desynchronization, what scientists call social jet lag, accelerates aging at the cellular level. Telomeres, the protective caps at the end of your DNA strands, shorten faster. It's as if each bad night trims the edges of your lifespan, one invisible slice at a time. Then there's the immune system, your invisible army. At night, especially during slow-wave sleep, your immune cells reorganize. They identify threats, form new antibodies, and repair inflammation damage. But this process requires a stable internal environment, low cortisol, steady temperature, no digestive interference. When you eat late, when you watch something stressful before bed, when you fall asleep in front of a screen, you keep that system off balance. Cortisol stays high, inflammation remains unresolved, and your body starts to misfire. It's why chronic poor sleepers catch colds more often, recover more slowly from illness, and experience greater inflammatory pain in joints and muscles. Their immune army never gets its night off. Imagine soldiers who are never allowed to rest. Their aim weakens, their reaction slows. That's what happens to your immune response when your bedtime habits never let it regroup. Even your metabolism pays the price in ways that are shockingly precise. In one study, adults who slept less than 6 hours or had irregular bedtime routines showed a 40% decrease in glucose tolerance the next day, meaning their cells couldn't handle sugar properly. But this wasn't just a temporary fatigue issue. Over time, the pancreas compensates by releasing more insulin, leading to insulin resistance. Fat begins to accumulate around the liver and abdomen. Appetite hormones like ghrelin and leptin go out of sync. You feel hungrier even when you've eaten enough. It's why people who sleep poorly crave sugar and carbs the next day. Their body is trying to replace the energy lost from poor rest. But instead of recovery, it begins a downward spiral. Fatigue leads to bad food choices, which lead to poor sleep, which deepens the fatigue. The cycle feeds itself, literally. And as months turn into years, it manifests as weight gain, high blood pressure, and metabolic syndrome, all quietly fueled by bedtime mistakes. The digestive system suffers in subtler but no less dangerous ways. After 50, gastric emptying slows. Your stomach takes longer to process meals. Eating within 2 hours of sleep means food remains undigested when you lie down. Gravity stops assisting digestion, and stomach acid can reflux into the esophagus. The result? Heartburn, disrupted sleep, micro-awakenings you may not even remember. But beneath those symptoms, the real harm is biochemical. Your gut microbiome, the ecosystem of trillions of bacteria that influence everything from mood to immunity, becomes disturbed. These microbes also follow a circadian rhythm, expecting fasting at night. When you eat late, you confuse them. The beneficial bacteria decrease, while inflammatory strains grow stronger. Over years, that imbalance leaks toxins into the bloodstream, a condition called leaky gut. Those toxins travel, inflaming the liver, arteries, and even the brain. What began as a midnight snack becomes a slow-motion chain reaction of systemic inflammation that shortens life from the inside out. Let's turn back to the heart for a moment, because few realize how deeply sleep and heart rhythm intertwine. Each night of disrupted or shallow sleep increases sympathetic nervous activity, the fight-or-flight state. Your heart beats faster, your blood vessels constrict, your blood pressure stays elevated. Over time, this keeps the cardiovascular system in a constant state of tension. Even your blood becomes thicker, stickier, more prone to clotting. That's why heart attacks and strokes occur most often in the early morning hours, when the body's circadian system is trying to transition between rest and activity. If your nights have been chaotic, that transition becomes dangerous. The heart, already strained, faces an early morning surge of blood pressure and stress hormones without enough recovery behind it. Many never realize that their heart event began not that morning, but in the hundreds of nights before, when rest was replaced by restless habit. The skin, too, bears the mark of disrupted nights. Collagen production, hydration balance, and blood flow to the dermis peak during deep sleep. When sleep is shallow or fragmented, these processes falter. Skin becomes dull, healing slows, fine lines deepen, but more importantly, chronic poor sleep elevates inflammatory cytokines that degrade collagen, the structural protein that keeps skin firm and elastic. So, when people over 50 notice that their skin looks tired, it's not vanity, it's biology. The same inflammation that ages their arteries is aging their face. Every late-night stressor, every hour lost to blue light, leaves a trace on the surface, and that's only what you can see. Beneath, the same process is happening to organs you can't see. Your liver, your heart, your brain, all aging faster because they're being denied the stillness they were designed for. Even emotions become distorted. The amygdala, the brain's emotional center, becomes overactive when you're sleep-deprived. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for reasoning and emotional control, weakens. This imbalance makes small frustrations feel bigger, worries feel heavier, fears feel sharper. It's why people who sleep poorly are more anxious, more irritable, and more prone to depression. But this emotional turbulence doesn't stay confined to the mind. It spills into the body through hormones. Cortisol, adrenaline, and inflammatory molecules rise, disrupting the delicate balance that keeps your organs healthy. It's a feedback loop. Poor sleep breeds stress, stress disrupts sleep, and both accelerate aging. Over time, it's not just your mood that suffers. It's your heart, your metabolism, your immune system. The emotional becomes biological. The psychological becomes physical. And that's why bedtime habits matter far more than people assume. They don't just shape how you feel. They shape how long you live. Now, consider the brain again, not in isolation, but in its dialogue with the body. Every night, deep sleep rewires the neural connections that support memory and learning. It's during REM sleep that emotional memories are processed and neutralized, the brain's way of healing from the day's stress. When you interrupt that process, by staying stimulated too late, by falling asleep with the TV humming, by flooding your senses with artificial light, those memories remain unfinished. The emotional charge lingers. That's why chronic poor sleepers often feel stuck in a loop of stress and rumination. Their brain never fully clears the day's residue. Over time, this increases the risk of anxiety, depression, and cognitive decline. It's not just fatigue. It's an emotional bottleneck that ages the mind. In men, irregular bedtime habits also lower testosterone, not just the hormone of strength, but one essential for vitality, heart health, and mood stability. In women, disrupted sleep accelerates declines in estrogen and progesterone balance, both of which protect the brain and bones. When these hormones fall out of sync, the risk of osteoporosis, mood swings, and metabolic disorders rises sharply. Once again, the trigger isn't just age, it's rhythm. The body doesn't decay on schedule. It decays when its cycles are ignored. Now step back and see the pattern. Poor bedtime habits touch every system: the heart, the brain, the hormones, the immune cells, the metabolism, the mood. They don't strike all at once. They accumulate like dust on an untouched shelf. One missed night of true rest won't change your life, but 10,000 will. The tragedy is that the damage remains invisible for years. You might even feel fine. But beneath the surface, your body is fighting battles you don't know exist. Your arteries are stiffening, your neurons are misfiring, your hormones are misaligned. And one day, what seems like a sudden problem, high blood pressure, weight gain, brain fog, chronic pain, is revealed to be the sum of decades of small nightly choices. But here's the most painful truth. Your body doesn't forget. It keeps records. Every late night, every burst of blue light, every rush of cortisol before bed. It's written into your biology. Your cells remember. Your DNA marks it through epigenetic changes, chemical signals that tell your genes how to behave. Poor sleep and stress literally alter gene expression, turning off the ones that repair and turning on the ones that inflame. This means that over time, your body becomes programmed for decline. It's not destiny, it's instruction. And the good news is that instructions can be rewritten. But before we can rewrite them, we must see them for what they are. Evidence that bedtime is not just a routine, it's a biological event, with consequences that echo through every heartbeat, every breath, every cell. In the end, the impact of common bedtime habits isn't about sleep at all. It's about energy, longevity, and life itself. Because sleep is not just rest, it's survival. And when you deny your body the conditions it needs to restore itself, you're not just losing hours, you're trading tomorrow for tonight. The truth about health, especially after 50, is that it's not only about avoiding what harms you, it's about nurturing what heals you. For every damaging bedtime habit that shortens life, There exists an equal and opposite rhythm that restores it. The same body that breaks under the weight of chaos can recover under the gentleness of order. It only needs consistency, respect, and time, and that's where hope begins, not in perfection, but in awareness. Because when you understand how delicate the night is, you stop fighting it. You begin to work with it, you begin to honor it as nature intended. There's something almost sacred about the hour before sleep, a moment where the noise of the world begins to dim, and the body prepares to cross the bridge from wakefulness to renewal. Most people rush through that moment, treating it as an obstacle rather than an opportunity, but it's within that hour that the foundation of health is built. You can reverse years of damage not by doing more, but by doing less. Less stimulation, less light, less anxiety. The goal isn't to create a perfect bedtime routine, but to create an environment where the body feels safe enough to heal itself, because it will, if you let it. Let's start with light, the simplest yet most powerful cue your body understands. Every cell in your body carries its own clock, and all of them take instruction from light. When the sun sets, your eyes detect darkness and signal the brain to release melatonin, the hormone of rest, repair, and longevity. But when artificial light fills your home after sunset, that message gets lost. Your body doesn't know night has arrived. The fix, surprisingly, is simple. Reintroduce darkness gradually. In the hour before bed, dim the lights. Switch from bright overhead bulbs to warm, low lamps. If you must use screens, activate a blue light filter or wear amber-tinted glasses. These small acts retrain your brain to associate the dark with calm. Within days, melatonin begins to flow more naturally, your body temperature lowers more easily, and you fall asleep without the resistance that so many mistake for insomnia. The cure was never in a pill. It was in respecting the night. Now consider the ritual of stillness. The nervous system cannot turn off instantly. It needs a descent, a slow tapering down from alertness to tranquility. Most people go from stimulation to stillness like slamming brakes on a speeding car. No wonder they lie awake. The mind, flooded with dopamine and adrenaline from constant engagement, doesn't know how to slow. The solution isn't complicated. It's in creating a landing strip for the brain, a gentle, predictable pattern that signals safety. For some, it's a warm shower followed by reading under soft light. For others, it's quiet breathing, journaling, or listening to soothing music. The activity matters less than the message. We are done for today. We are safe. We can rest. The repetition of this message, night after night, reprograms the brain to associate bedtime with security, not stress. And safety, biologically speaking, is the gateway to restoration. Food, too, plays a critical role. Digestion is one of the most energy-intensive processes in the body. When you eat late, you ask your organs to stay awake long after your mind is ready to rest. But when you stop eating at least 2 to 3 hours before bed, you give your body permission to redirect that energy toward repair instead of digestion. You also help regulate insulin and leptin, hormones that control fat storage and appetite. Studies show that adults who practice early time-restricted eating, finishing dinner by 6 or 7 p.m., experience better blood sugar control, lower inflammation, and deeper sleep quality. It's not deprivation, it's alignment. You're returning your metabolism to the rhythm it evolved for, feeding by day, fasting by night. Hydration has its place too. Many older adults wake frequently at night to use the bathroom, which fragments sleep and reduces time spent in deep restorative phases. This can often be improved simply by adjusting fluid intake, hydrating steadily during the day, but tapering off an hour before bedtime. It's not about drinking less, it's about timing better. You wouldn't water a plant right before moving it indoors. You let it absorb what it needs earlier, so it can rest undisturbed later. The body is no different. Temperature may be one of the most underestimated healing cues. The human body sleeps best when its core temperature drops slightly, a signal that the environment is safe for rest. In cooler rooms, the body doesn't have to struggle to release heat, allowing it to fall into deep sleep more quickly. The ideal sleeping temperature is often between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 to 20 degrees C. But more than the number, it's about contrast. A warm bath before bed, followed by entering a cooler room, can enhance this drop even more. As the body cools, it naturally produces melatonin. This simple primal act, heat followed by cool, mirrors the way our ancestors lived, bathing by firelight, sleeping under cooler air. You can replicate that wisdom today with a warm shower, a dim lamp, and an open window. The body remembers what peace feels like. You only need to give it the chance. Then there's breath, that quiet bridge between body and mind. Shallow breathing is the signature of a stressed nervous system. Deep rhythmic breathing tells the body the opposite. All is well. Just 5 minutes of slow breathing, inhaling through the nose for 4 seconds, exhaling for 6, can lower heart rate, drop blood pressure, and activate the parasympathetic system, the body's rest and digest mode. It's remarkable that something so simple, so accessible, can reverse the biological stress response that so many carry into bed. You don't need equipment. You don't need medication. You just need your breath, the original medicine, the oldest rhythm, the body's own lullaby. For those who live with persistent nighttime anxiety, gratitude can be a quiet antidote, not the vague, forced kind, but a simple reflection. Before bed, write down 3 things that went right, no matter how small. The mind that scans for danger all day will, over time, learn to scan for safety instead. This mental shift lowers cortisol, improves heart rate variability, and reduces nighttime awakenings. Neuroscience now confirms what ancient wisdom long taught. A calm mind creates a calm body, and a calm body heals. Technology, once a thief of rest, can also become a tool for healing, if used with awareness. Many smart devices now offer features that mimic sunset light, track sleep patterns, or play ambient sounds. But the key is control. Use technology to assist rhythm, not to disrupt it. Let it remind you to wind down, to breathe, to dim the light. Don't let it be the last thing you see before sleep, because the last signal your brain receives shapes the chemistry of your dreams. And dreams, though intangible, are part of the body's emotional repair, a space where stress untangles itself and memory finds order. If loneliness has crept into your nights, as it does for many, there are gentle ways to soften its edges. Connection, even in small doses, restores physiological balance. A phone call with a friend earlier in the evening, a shared walk at dusk, even a message exchanged with warmth. These acts trigger oxytocin, the hormone of bonding and calm. Oxytocin lowers blood pressure, reduces inflammation, and promotes restorative sleep. It's not sentimentality, it's biochemistry. Humans were never meant to rest alone in spirit, even if they do in body. If you can't share space, share energy. The heart doesn't know the difference between physical proximity and genuine emotional presence. Both heal, and movement, gentle, intentional movement, can be one of the most powerful forms of nighttime medicine. A short walk after dinner improves digestion, stabilizes blood sugar, and lowers stress hormones. Slow stretching before bed releases physical tension accumulated during the day. You don't need intensity, you need flow. The body interprets motion as completion. When you move gently, you tell your muscles and mind, the day's work is done. That message travels deeper than you think. It sets the stage for true rest. The environment around you matters as much as the habits within you. The bedroom should be a sanctuary, not an extension of the day's chaos. That means no television, no harsh lighting, no piles of unfinished tasks. Every object in that room should whisper one message: peace. Remove reminders of work, clutter, and noise. Replace them with textures and scents that calm the senses: soft fabrics, natural wood, a faint trace of lavender or chamomile. Studies show that these sensory cues, darkness, silence, softness, lower heart rate and trigger the brain's rest mode faster. You are in essence creating a physical signal to your body that it can finally let go. And when you repeat this environment night after night, your nervous system begins to associate that space with tranquility. It becomes Pavlovian. You enter and calm follows. Healing the night is not about grand gestures. It's about patterns. The same way harmful habits accumulate damage, healing habits accumulate resilience. One night of good rest won't erase years of neglect, but it will start the repair. Within a week of consistent bedtime routines, inflammation markers begin to drop. Within 2 weeks, cortisol rhythms stabilize. Within a month, heart rate variability improves, a direct measure of your body's adaptability and vitality. The transformation doesn't scream, it whispers. You start waking earlier without an alarm. Your thoughts feel clearer. Your energy lasts longer. You feel less brittle, more grounded. These are not coincidences, they are biological responses to alignment. For many, the most profound change comes not from adding habits, but from removing the ones that never belonged. The late-night caffeine, the second drink, the constant mental rehearsing of tomorrow's worries. When those fall away, what remains is space. And space is what the body needs to heal. Because health isn't just the absence of disease, it's the presence of flow. A body in flow doesn't fight itself. Its organs communicate, its hormones synchronize. Its energy feels light, unforced. And that state, that harmony, begins in the quiet hour before sleep. Even those who have struggled with insomnia for years can find renewal through patience and consistency. The brain is plastic, it learns. If it has learned to fear sleep, it can learn to trust it again. Start small. Choose one habit, maybe dimming the lights earlier or leaving your phone outside the bedroom, and repeat it every night. Let that single act become a signal of peace. Once it feels natural, add another. Progress, not perfection, is the medicine. Each small correction rewires your circadian rhythm, rebuilds your hormonal balance, and reawakens your body's innate intelligence. You don't have to force health, you have to allow it. And finally, remember this. Longevity isn't measured only in years lived, but in nights healed. The body doesn't need constant intervention, it needs cooperation. When you stop interrupting its rhythms, it will return to balance on its own. That's the miracle built into you, the capacity to regenerate, to repair, to renew. The question isn't whether your body can recover, it's whether you'll give it the chance. Tonight, as you turn off the lights, imagine that you're stepping into a sacred space, one where every heartbeat slows, every cell exhales, and the noise of the day dissolves into calm. That's not just sleep, that's life beginning again. Every night offers a choice, a quiet, private decision that determines not only how well you'll sleep, but how long and how fully you'll live. It doesn't matter what happened today. It doesn't matter what happened decades ago. The body you have right now is listening. It's ready to cooperate, to heal, to begin again. You haven't missed your chance to reverse the damage, to restore balance, to rebuild vitality. Age doesn't disqualify you from renewal, it demands it. The night is still yours to reclaim. Because the truth is, your body was never your enemy. It was always on your side, working tirelessly to protect you, even when you made it harder. Every sleepless night, every late meal, every surge of stress before bed, your body didn't give up. It adapted. It tried to make peace with your choices. And that resilience is your greatest advantage now. Once you align your habits with what your body has been asking for all along, rhythm, light, calm, nourishment, you unleash that resilience in its purest form. Healing, then, is not about control, it's about cooperation. It's about listening. It starts with small decisions that carry immense power. You choose to dim the lights earlier, and your body thanks you with steadier melatonin. You choose to end the last meal before sunset, and your digestion rewards you with lightness and clarity. You silence your phone, breathe deeply, let go of tomorrow's plans, and your nervous system finally exhales. You're not forcing health, you're inviting it. One night of alignment leads to another, and soon your body begins to trust you again. The fatigue fades. The heaviness in the mornings lifts. You start to feel something you haven't felt in a long time, real rest, the kind that seeps into your bones, the kind that doesn't need an alarm to end. And with rest comes clarity. Sleep isn't just about energy, it's about perspective. A well-rested brain sees life differently. Problems shrink to their real size. Emotions stabilize. Gratitude becomes easier. That's not sentimentality, it's neurochemistry. Deep sleep restores the balance between the amygdala, your emotional alarm, and the prefrontal cortex, your rational guide. When those two are in harmony, you no longer live in reaction. You live with awareness, you make better choices, not because you've memorized rules, but because your brain finally has the calm to see clearly. It's humbling to realize how much of our suffering comes not from what happens to us, but from the exhaustion with which we face it. The small irritations, the quick temper, the low patience, they're not personality flaws, they're symptoms of depletion. When the body is rested, kindness returns naturally. Patience expands. Decision-making sharpens. You stop fighting the world because you no longer feel like you're fighting yourself. That's the kind of health most people never measure, but it's the one that defines the quality of a life. At 50, 60, 70, people are told that decline is inevitable. That sleep problems, fatigue and forgetfulness are just part of getting older, but that's not the full truth. Yes, the body changes with time, but it also responds to care with astonishing speed. Within weeks of restoring healthy sleep, blood pressure improves, inflammation drops, memory sharpens, and mood stabilizes. Within months, the risk of heart disease and diabetes falls dramatically. You don't have to chase youth, you have to protect rhythm. That's where vitality lives, not in denying age, but in mastering the art of recovery. Think about what aging well really means. It's not about avoiding wrinkles or chasing longevity charts. It's about waking up with clarity and sleeping with peace. It's about having enough energy to do what matters, enough calm to enjoy it, and enough wisdom to know what to let go of. Every night you sleep deeply. You give your body another chance to build that version of yourself. You're not running from death. You're walking steadily toward a longer, fuller life. The people who live longest aren't always those who eat the cleanest or exercise the most. They're often the ones who live in sync with nature, with time, with themselves. They rise with light and rest with darkness. They eat with mindfulness and stop when satisfied. They move their bodies but also know how to be still. They don't see rest as laziness. They see it as maintenance. That's not luck, it's lifestyle. And you can choose it, beginning tonight. Start by redefining what bedtime means to you. It's not the end of your day, it's the beginning of your healing. See it as an appointment with your own longevity, one you keep not out of obligation, but out of respect for the body that carries you. Create rituals that anchor you in calm. Dim lights, slow breath, gentle gratitude. Let that hour before sleep be sacred. The world can wait. The emails can wait. The worries will still be there in the morning, but you'll face them with a rested mind and a steady heart. The first few nights might feel awkward. Habits don't break quietly. The mind will resist stillness at first. It will crave stimulation, reach for the phone, replay the day. But don't fight it. Observe it. Replace every urge to scroll with an act of stillness. A sip of warm tea, a stretch, a page of a book. The mind is like a river. It calms not by force but by direction. Gently guide it where you want it to flow. Within days the restlessness subsides. Within weeks, calm becomes familiar again. You'll begin to crave peace more than distraction. That's when healing becomes effortless. And the deeper you go into this rhythm, the more you'll realize how interconnected everything truly is. Your heart, your brain, your hormones, your mood, all are part of the same conversation. When you honor sleep, you give each of them time to speak, time to restore harmony. The result is not just better rest, it's better life. You'll notice your appetite normalizing, your digestion smoothing out, your blood pressure softening, your emotions stabilizing. You'll look in the mirror one morning and see something that was missing, not youth but aliveness, that spark in your eyes that says your body and mind are no longer at war. There's something profoundly empowering about realizing you're not helpless against time. You can't stop the clock, but you can teach it how to tick more gently. You can't change the years you've lived, but you can change how your body experiences the ones to come. And it starts with tonight, with the simple act of giving yourself permission to rest fully, without guilt, without rush, without noise. Because longevity isn't built in years, it's built in nights. Each one is a deposit into your future. Every good night of sleep lowers inflammation, restores memory, regulates hormones, and repairs your heart. It's like saving for a future you can actually feel, one where you wake up steady, calm, strong, and clear. That's what true wealth feels like, not in possessions, but in peace, And you don't need complicated routines or expensive gadgets to achieve it. You need discipline, patience, and respect for rhythm. Go to bed at roughly the same time each night. Wake up with the light. Eat when the sun is up, fast when it's down. Move your body in the day so that it's ready for stillness at night. Keep your environment dark, cool, and quiet. These are not restrictions. They are alignments. They bring your biology back to the conditions it evolved for. And under those conditions, your body thrives. It knows what to do. It always has. There's a quiet strength that comes from mastering your nights. It gives you confidence that no supplement, no shortcut can replace. You realize you have control, not over everything, but over the essentials. You can't choose how fast the years pass, but you can choose how deeply you rest within them. You can't prevent challenges, but you can face them from a body that's steady, a mind that's clear, and a heart that's rested. That's real power, that's vitality. As you step into this new rhythm, you may find other areas of your life shifting too. Relationships soften when you're rested. Conversations deepen. Decisions become easier. Creativity returns. You start to feel connected again, to others, to nature, to yourself. That's what good sleep does. It reconnects you to the rhythm of life. You stop feeling like you're running against time and start feeling like you're moving with it. And perhaps most importantly, you rediscover something that adulthood often buries: the beauty of night. The quiet, the stillness, the chance to pause. You stop seeing bedtime as the end of productivity and start seeing it as the beginning of wisdom. You realize that slowing down isn't a loss, it's a gain. It's how you make space for healing, for reflection, for being. So tonight, when you turn off the light, do it with intention. Don't rush into sleep. Let the darkness feel like an embrace, not an absence. Feel your breath slowing, your muscles unwinding, your thoughts quieting. Feel your body trusting you again. That trust, that harmony, is where true health begins. And if you remember nothing else from this journey, remember this: the habits that shorten life are ordinary, but so are the ones that extend it. You don't need to reinvent yourself. You just need to realign with the simple truths that nature has always offered, that light belongs to day, that rest belongs to night, and that longevity belongs to those who honor both. Your next years can be your healthiest, your most peaceful, your most powerful, not because you discovered a secret, but because you finally stopped ignoring what your body has known all along. The rhythm of night is not the enemy of progress. It's the architect of it. And once you protect that rhythm, your body will reward you in ways you can feel every morning, in clarity, in calm, in strength, in joy. Because the path to a longer life doesn't begin in the doctor's office or the gym. It begins right here, in the quiet decision to treat every night as a gift.